ChosenOne. The closed door was divine mercy. Losing them returned something even more valuable: peace. Not the loud kind that arrives with applause, not the polished peace people post online after they have already survived the storm. I mean the strange, almost uncomfortable peace that first appears as silence after something you wanted deeply says no. The email came. The call never happened. The offer went to someone else. The partnership dissolved. The invitation that looked like destiny turned out to be a locked gate. And what made it hurt was not simply the rejection itself. It was how perfect it had seemed. It matched your vision board. It aligned with your timing. It answered the prayers you had whispered in exhausted nights. It looked like the very thing you had prepared for. That is why the grief felt confusing. Because some losses are easy to categorize. A toxic relationship ending. A dishonest friend leaving. A reckless decision collapsing. But this was different. This looked clean, beautiful, right. This looked like the opportunity that would finally validate the years no one saw, the years of private discipline, the lonely seasons of becoming, the quiet self-reinvention. The tears no one knew were mixed into your ambition. So when the door closed, it did not just disappoint your plans, it challenged your trust in your own discernment. And yet, ChosenOne, this is the mystery very few people understand. Some doors do not close because you failed. They close because your peace was worth more than your preference. You thought you were losing access. In truth, you were being spared a future version of yourself that would have had to survive what your present self could not yet see. That is why the rejection lingers in your memory. Not because it ruined your path, because it rewrote it before damage could become destiny. There are moments in life when what appears as loss is actually an invisible hand removing your name from a storm. This was one of those moments. The pain was real. The confusion was human. The mercy was hidden. And hidden mercy is still mercy. You remember how certain you felt. You had imagined the life that would begin once this opportunity opened. The new city, the new role, the new circle, the prestige, the income. The identity attached to finally being seen in the way you believed you deserved. It carried the perfume of arrival. That is what made it seductive. Not greed, not ego. Relief. The relief of believing you would no longer have to explain why the road had taken so long. People around you would finally understand. Family would stop worrying. Friends would admire the breakthrough. Even the ones who underestimated you would have to acknowledge the evidence. Sometimes, what we call the perfect opportunity is actually a beautifully wrapped answer to our exhaustion. And exhaustion is dangerous because it can make any exit from pain look like purpose. Read that again with your spirit, not your wound. Exhaustion can make any exit from pain look like purpose. That job, that collaboration, that relationship, that city, that investment, that offer, that platform, that dream door. It may not have been wrong. It was simply wrong for the condition of your soul, because beneath your excitement was something more fragile. You were hoping this opportunity would finally give you permission to rest. But rest, built on external approval, always comes with a hidden invoice. Sooner or later, it charges your peace. The reason the closed door still echoes inside you is because some part of you still wonders, what if that really was the one? But what if it was only the one that matched your hunger, not your healing? There is a difference. One feeds urgency. The other protects wholeness. And your life, ChosenOne, is being guided more by wholeness than by urgency now. That is why what looked cruel was actually careful. Imagine a traveler reaching a bridge at twilight. From a distance, the bridge looks solid, elegant, exactly where the map promised it would be. But the architect who built the land knows what the traveler cannot see. The wood beneath the surface has already rotted. One more crossing, and it collapses into the river below. So the path is blocked. The bridge is closed. The traveler curses the delay, not realizing the closed passage is the only reason they live long enough to see morning. That was your rejection. A bridge that looked like progress, but carried hidden fracture. You were not denied because you were unworthy. You were rerouted because the structure beneath the opportunity could not hold the weight of who you are becoming. Some environments are built for the version of you that performs, not the version of you that has finally learned to protect inner peace. And what you are becoming now cannot survive on performance alone. This is why the emotional theme of this season is not heartbreak. It is rescue disguised as refusal. The world romanticizes persistence. Push harder. Knock again. Prove yourself. Fight for the seat. But wisdom knows when a no contains intelligence your emotions have not yet caught up to. There are rooms where your gifts would have been used, but your nervous system destroyed. There are people who would have admired your brilliance while quietly draining your spirit. There are opportunities that reward your talent and punish your truth. You were not sent there. That matters, because your life is no longer being built merely around what can elevate you. It is being arranged around what can keep you internally intact. That is a different kind of blessing, a quieter one, a deeper one. Not the blessing of visibility, the blessing of congruence, where your external life no longer requires your inner life to fracture. This is why peace returned when the thing left. At first, you mistook it for numbness. You thought maybe you had simply gone tired, emotionally flat, too disappointed to feel. But then days passed, and beneath the sting, something softer emerged. You were sleeping better. Your chest was less tight. The mind loops began to loosen. You were no longer rehearsing how to prove yourself. The fantasy died. But with it, the pressure theater in your mind also went dark. And suddenly, the silence felt sacred. This is how rescue often enters. Not as triumph, as relief. The body often knows divine mercy before the mind can explain it. Your spirit exhaled before your logic agreed, because the body can detect what the ego edits. That opportunity may have looked perfect on paper, but your deeper intelligence had already begun bracing for the cost. The constant self-monitoring, the adaptation, the pleasing, the hidden politics, the compromise, the emotional tax of pretending something was aligned when it only looked impressive. Sometimes the greatest miracle is not receiving what you asked for. It is no longer needing what would have cost your peace. That is transformation. And this is where the real lesson begins. Not in the rejection itself, in what the rejection revealed about your old relationship with worth. Be honest with yourself. How much of your grief came from the loss, and how much came from the collapse of the identity you had attached to it? Because many times we do not mourn the opportunity. We mourn the version of ourselves we thought it would prove. The respected one, the chosen one in the worldly sense. The finally arrived one, the person whose life now makes sense to everyone else. Rejection burns because it exposes where our self-concept was secretly outsourced. You thought the yes would confirm your value. Instead, the no forced you to discover value that does not require confirmation. This is the mercy. Not that the door closed, that the closing exposed the place in you, still handing your peace to outcomes. And once you see that, you cannot unsee it. Now the healing becomes practical. The transformation lesson of this season is simple, but it changes everything. Learn to measure alignment by the condition of your inner life, not by the shine of the opportunity. This sounds gentle. It is actually radical. Because the world trains you to evaluate doors by status, money, access, validation, momentum. But the wiser path asks different questions. Who do I become while pursuing this? What happens to my sleep, my breath, my integrity, my joy, my relationships? My ability to hear myself think, does this path deepen peace, or merely stimulate urgency? Does it make me more honest, or more performative? Does it nourish the life I am building, or just flatter the image I want others to see? These questions protect you from confusing attraction with assignment. The perfect opportunity is not the one that looks the best. It is the one that allows your soul to remain undivided. That rejection trained you to see this. And once you truly learn it, you stop grieving every closed door. Some you begin to thank. I want to speak to the hidden humiliation inside this experience. Because rejection is rarely just private pain. It often carries public embarrassment. People knew you were waiting. They knew you wanted it. Some even congratulated you too early. Then the silence came. Then the answer came. Then you had to carry yourself through the awkwardness of being seen, not receiving what everyone assumed was yours. This can wound the ego in subtle ways, but sometimes public disappointment detoxes you from living for witness. When the crowd no longer sees you as the one who got it, you are returned to the deeper question. Who are you when no visible milestone validates the journey? That is sacred work, because it removes the addiction to externally narrated worth. The path ahead of you needs less performance and more truth, and truth grows best in the soil of unobserved becoming. The closed door returned you there, to the workshop of the soul, to the room where identity is built without applause, to the field where roots matter more than flowers. This is why what happened was mercy. Not because it felt good, because it returned you to what is real. Weeks from now, months from now, maybe even years from now, the hidden architecture of this rescue will become clearer. You will hear what happened inside that company, that group, that partnership, that relationship, the instability, the betrayal, the collapse, the culture, the invisible corrosion, the burden that would have become yours. And you will realize the no was not absence. It was protection arriving early. Sometimes life loves you enough to disappoint you before danger gets personal. This is the tenderness hidden inside the wound, a shepherd closing a gate before the cliff, a gardener pruning a branch before disease spreads, a lighthouse refusing to flatter the ship's chosen direction. The metaphor for your season is this: the lighthouse. It does not chase the ship. It does not force. It simply stands in truth and warns through light. The closed door was your lighthouse, not punishing you, preventing collision. You only called it rejection because you had not yet seen the rocks beyond the fog, and yet your spirit felt it. That is why the peace returned. Not all peace feels warm. Some peace feels like the absence of future chaos. A clean no, a removed option, a cancelled meeting, a missed connection, a delayed answer that eventually disappears. These are sometimes the quiet mechanics of mercy. There is another layer here, chosen one. The opportunity that rejected you may have been perfect for the person you used to be. That is why it felt so strangely right. It matched old ambitions, old insecurities, old definitions of success, old wounds that wanted achievement as medicine. But your soul has evolved faster than your dreams updated. So the life you once imagined as ideal may now be incompatible with the person you have become. This is not failure. It is emotional outgrowing, a powerful, often painful maturity. You are not being kept from what belongs to you. You are being detached from what belonged to a former self. And grief is natural there, not because the future is gone, because the old identity finally is. Let it go with gratitude. That version of you got you this far. But the next season requires a different architecture. One built less on proving and more on preserving. Less on chasing and more on discerning. Less on access and more on inner authority. This is why the closed door was divine mercy. It interrupted an outdated dream before it could become a sophisticated prison. Some prisons are made of prestige. Some are made of money. Some are made of social admiration. Some are made of the fear of disappointing people who expected you to take the offer. But peace cannot breathe in gilded cages. And your life is not meant to become a beautiful cage. It is meant to become a true one. You may still feel moments of ache. That is normal. Healing does not erase the imagination instantly. Sometimes you still visit the life that might have been. You picture the office, the title, the apartment, the people, the version of your name attached to that timeline. Then gently return. Not with bitterness, with reverence. Because every timeline you were spared deserves gratitude, not obsession. You were not abandoned from that future. You were escorted away from it. There is dignity in that understanding. And now, because you are no longer chasing what rejected you, your energy returns. This is another hidden miracle. What rejection removes from your external life, it often restores to your internal life as power. Your attention comes back. Your creativity returns. Your intuition sharpens. Your body softens. Your mornings stop beginning with the ache of proving. You begin building from truth instead of reaction. That is where authentic calling emerges. Not from the door you forced, from the peace you protected. Soon, a different opportunity will appear. Quieter, less flashy, less immediately impressive, but it will fit. Not because it is smaller, because it is cleaner. It will not require you to abandon yourself to receive it. It will not seduce your wounds. It will not feed your old hunger for external proof. It will meet the person you are now. And because of this rejection, you will recognize the difference. That is why this pain had meaning. It refined your sight. Not every open door is safe. Not every closed door is loss. Some no's are sacred architecture. They shape the hallway that leads you toward the room where peace and purpose finally belong to the same life. So today, do not ask why they said no. Ask what chaos your life no longer has to carry because they did. Ask what version of yourself was quietly rescued. Ask what your body has been trying to tell you through the relief underneath the grief. Ask what new standard has been born in you. Because the new standard is this: I no longer confuse external perfection with inner alignment. That sentence alone can save years. Carry it. Live from it. Let it become the lens through which every future invitation is examined. Then even rejection becomes wisdom. Even delay becomes refinement. Even redirection becomes intimacy with truth. And when the next right door opens, it will not feel like panic disguised as excitement. It will feel like peace with a pulse. A future that does not demand self-betrayal. A yes that does not disturb your sleep. A path that does not split your spirit from your values. That is how you will know. Not by glamour. By wholeness. So bless the door that closed. Bless the silence that followed. Bless the days when you questioned your worth and found something deeper than validation. You found yourself, and perhaps that was the true opportunity all along. Not the one you lost. The one within you that could finally no longer be bought by appearances. Affirmations. 1. I trust that every closed door protects my peace and redirects me toward truth. 2. I no longer measure worth by acceptance, but by inner alignment and wholeness. 3. Blessing. May every rejection in your life reveal itself as rescue. May your heart release every timeline that would have cost your peace. May your mind grow clear enough to recognize alignment beyond appearances. May your body trust the relief beneath disappointment. And may the next door that opens welcome the whole of who you are, not the version of you built to survive. May your path be guarded by wisdom, lit by truth, and filled with the kind of peace no external opportunity can ever replace.
Amen.